right.
I love that intro. It's so much fun to watch.
Oh, it's so great to see you.
Good to
Hello,
see you.
hello.
It's been too long.
I know. It has been too long. Have you been up to anything wonderful?
Just surviving out here in the desert. It's starting to get warm and like just that change alone. I've got allergies that kick my butt every now and then.
Oh
So
my
yeah, good
goodness.
times.
Horrible, 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 horrible. Oh my goodness. Allergies are terrible right now.
It's such a battle. You have them too?
I do. And you know what I did for them? Side note, we'll get into cults in a second, but
Yeah.
acupuncture.
Really?
Not kidding. I went there for a back problem and I couldn't stop like sneezing and stuff. So she was like, like I can treat your allergies too. I'm like, sure, stick some needles in my skull. And I went back 3 times for that. And it's been, I don't know if it's coincidence, but it's been so much better. Do you believe in acupuncture?
Sure. Yeah, I would try it for sure.
Yeah. And insurance covers acupuncture, some acupuncturists. So
Cool.
yeah, it was wonderful.
I'm gonna have to look into that and go lay down and get stuck.
Did you ever go?
No, I've never been.
It's an experience.
Really?
Yeah. And I always tell them, I'm like, be prepared for me to scream every single time you stick a needle in me. But I've been going for years for different different injuries here and there. And it has saved me from never having to get surgery. And I beat the what out of my body really bad.
Yeah, dancing's not easy.
And competition, especially for when I was competing up until 2019. It was pounding. And I've had every kind of injury.
So acupuncture, cults, peeps. I mean, I'm starting to kind of piece together what you got going on here. There's a lot.
Yes. And I have to tell you that God came to me last night and told me who the Messiah is going to be. The new Messiah is here.
Is it me?
No, I'm sorry, but it's in the form of a Lhasa Apso.
What is that?
It is a little dog. It is a 4-legged, very furry dog.
Really?
Yes, I know. It's crazy. It is crazy, but it's true. And that is what happened.
Does this dog have a bow on the top of its head too?
No, this dog does not. It's a Lhasa Apso. It's got long hair. Let's see if I could pull. I was going to show you a picture, but it's not letting me. So I will show you this is not the actual Messiah, but this is what we don't want to show the actual Messiah yet.
Okay.
So we'll have to show you just like a faux Messiah.
My brain is going to. Do you remember the movie As Good as It Gets?
Of course.
I'm thinking of that dog for some reason.
No, you will not see Lhasa Apsos in movies. Okay. Because
is it like a fictional dog?
No, it's a real dog, but they're just not built for the big screen. Can you see is my screen showing?
Oh, it almost is like the dog from As Good as It Gets. Okay.
Well, that was probably a Shih Tzu. They're similar, but they're a little smaller and they're a little more friendly. These dogs, I always say, are going to go out of style because, they are not very friendly. But they're good messiahs. They're definitely good messiahs. So the only thing that they request instead of underage children is that you bring them chicken or a lamb, and that's the sacrifice you have to make.
I mean, it looks like a long-haired Ewok from Star Wars.
It does, or from was it the Munsters or the Addams Family? It. You remember that?
Are you getting one of these dogs?
I have one. I want
You
to
have
share the
one?
picture, but I don't know how to share the screen. Yes, I had one for many, many years. My Lhasa Apso is actually a show dog.
Oh.
Yeah, and you know, God spoke to me and said that she is actually the Messiah. So I shouldn't really show her picture yet anyway, because we're not ready to fully start our cult yet.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a similar diet to this dog. I like chicken too.
Very temperamental and very picky, you know. So
I think this dog might be my spirit animal.
they are wonderful. They're very devoted. They're unlike other dogs because they're very devoted to their owners,
Okay.
but not so friendly to people.
One owner kind of dog.
What?
Like a one owner kind of dog. It just
Yes.
focuses on, okay,
Yes,
got it.
definitely have to get to know you, growls at strangers, and just, you know, and you know, my dog, I would bring my dog to the dance studio, and she'd just sit there because she's so cute. So people would walk up to her and try to pet her. And as soon as they got really close, she would run away. It's like she just would tease you. She's like,
Yeah.
they're so good. They get really close and then she runs.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she is a show dog and her mother won Westminster. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. I didn't know that. Okay.
But we are here to talk about cults and specifically what inspired this was the 30-year anniversary of Waco.
Yeah.
Waco the Aftermath is now on Showtime.
Mhm.
And did you get a chance to see that at all?
I watched the first episode completely, and then I fell asleep towards the end of the second episode.
Awesome. Okay.
So I
Well,
gotta finish
it's
that
only
out.
and they had one season, you know, a few years ago, and now they're doing Waco the Aftermath, which is strange, but
Yeah.
but I know you had some opinions of the handling of Waco and just your thoughts
I
on
was,
the
yeah.
tobacco and firearms division.
I was worked up last night. That's why I was texting you. I'm like, I can't believe it went down like this. Like, why? Yeah.
But at the same time, can I just point out that if someone comes to your house with a warrant, are you really going to start shooting at
No, bad idea.
them?
Bad idea.
I know maybe what is it? The FTF?
The ATF? Yeah.
ATF.
So I'm watching the, you know, like the kind of entry point to this attempt to go to this compound. And just looking at it alone, it's a high-rise building. There's a lot of country around it. I would never approach this place during the day if I was going to like try and breach and, you know, arrest people. Go at night. You need more of an element of surprise. They went at like first thing in the morning after all these people had a good night's sleep. That's just poor tactics. You know, I don't
So
understand.
that was your issue? I guess I didn't understand what your
Right off the bat, I'm thinking, why did they load up all their gear? I mean, they're running around in broad daylight in tactical gear, and they go up to this compound where they know some very interesting and devoted people live with fully automatic converted weapons and explosives. I would have never gone during the day. I would have never said, you know what, go at 6 a.m. That was the worst decision they made right off the bat. And they got rocked. The footage is there. It shows what happens when you pursue engaging like that. You know, the ATF had cars, Stephanie, to hide behind, and the people living in this compound had a full structure. They had walls and they had a high point of advantage.
Wow, I totally misunderstood your message when you said you didn't like the ATF handling. I thought you were going to say that they shouldn't have done anything. You're like in the opposite. They should have done more.
They should have went at a different time of day. I mean, they had good reason to be there, right? These were, it was known that they had illegal weapons. So that's the ATF's job, is to track those weapons down, obtain them, and, you know, make it good. So knowing that, they go and look how bright it is outside. They approach this compound like sitting ducks, fish in a bucket, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Unreal. It
That's
was so
I'm
so
just
bad.
blown away because you probably don't know, but there's been a lot of controversy on whether or not they should have been bothering them at all. Like when they
I
went,
I kind of have to agree with that. Like, start some communication first. But when you show up to a place like that and you start banging on the door with tactical gear on, you're poking the bear. You're
but
poking a bear,
but
you know?
the bear, if it was a real bear, I would agree with you. Leave the bear alone. But this is a person that is stashing weapons for what purpose?
Right.
And you know a little bit of history about David Koresh. Do you know any history about him? About
Oh,
his
do I know? Just from what I watched last night, I mean, this is a guy who is extremely convicted that he was the Messiah. You know, he had a firm belief system from in which he empowered himself and then brought in other people to, to mesh into his core belief system. So someone like that's very dangerous. They're convincing, they're manipulative. Most important though, they're convicted within their rights that they're doing something that they should be doing. That's a very difficult person to negotiate with. That's a very difficult person to reason with. And that's a dangerous person. So I don't know if I think that knocking on that person's door would be a good idea with, an aggressive approach. I think you're going to get aggression in return when you travel that path with someone.
so you're saying they should have expected that. They shouldn't have been so surprised.
Yeah, I think that exactly what happened was exactly what was designed to happen in the first place. Like that, there was no other way that was going to go down.
And they should have been able to predict that.
I think they knew. I feel like after watching that
Ah,
footage, there was a hero complex in there, and they wanted to go in there. They wanted to fight. You don't show up dressed like that when you're trying to talk. You
I
know,
see. Okay. Well, that's
that's a
definitely
different
a good
message.
point.
You know,
A good point for sure. For sure. Okay. All right. I can see that. I can see that. I guess I'm kind of on the side of like this guy needed to be dealt with.
sure, I
Married
totally
women.
agree
He
with
also
that.
took
Okay, so
underage girls. Some of his
this
wives
is
were teenagers. One was 11 when she was first made to have sex with Koresh. Another of his wives was 13. It's statutory rape.
Yeah. I was unaware.
all right. So he claims that he didn't know. He was a survivor. So this guy was one of the survivors there.
Right.
Um and he also, I have a clip that I'll show you later when we get to that part. But when I hear that, I'm like, all right. They weren't just harmless as they were presenting themselves to be.
No, there was a lot of wrong going on in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? Why do people join? Like, why did people follow him?
Well, whether it's a cult or, a arts and craft club or something totally innocent like a sports team, I think we as humans, we kind of like to find other like-minded individuals. That way you feel less alone. So
For sure.
I think that's the initial attraction to it is, oh, there's other people that, I feel safe with, right? But what happens is when you let that guard down, and you start to think that you're safe, it's like being in a relationship. You're vulnerable to manipulation or criticism, and then you end up harboring maybe more than you were ready for. Like these children, for example, should not be sexually active at that age, not
Oh
even
my God.
close. However, it was condoned because of that atmosphere that was created around them that they initially felt safe in, right? So
You
that
also know that he separated husband. These stories, like I knew not that much about it until I kind of dove into it. He separated wives and husbands, and he announced that everybody had to be celibate except
right.
him and whoever he chose. Which
Yes.
who agrees to that? Like who agrees to
people that are lost, I think, would agree to that. You know, that they've lost their sense of boundary, or even kind of what they feel in their gut. They're putting aside their gut feelings, you know, and then allowing this change to take place. And then they embrace it, right? Because if 20 other people are embracing it, now you have like a sympathy effect, you know, and then it just
Mm.
it merges into becoming infectious. 25 people turns into 50, and now you have like a colony of everyone supporting it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
So so once you get sucked in, like you're in there and you believe David Koresh, who was originally his name was Vernon. He didn't like the name Vernon, I guess. Seems like cult leaders like the name David. Just an observation.
Well, the name's in the Bible, you know.
David Miscavige from Scientology. Oh yeah, also a biblical name.
Right.
But like at that first moment, like some of the kids were released, and like as a parent, I know you don't have kids yet, but you can probably put yourself in those shoes. Like you just sent your kids out and you're like, no, but I'm gonna stay because like, you know, I like living with David over here, so you guys go find a home with some relative. Here's a note. But I'm gonna stay with David. Like what kind of parent does that? There's like a few red flags that like make me go, okay, like I can see you wanting, not that I can see people wanting to join a cult, but I can put myself in those shoes.
Right.
But that's like a couple of deal breakers there.
Sure.
Whenever you're dealing with children.
Yeah, I think the portions of the episode that I watched that discussed what those children were going through, that made me think, okay, this was honestly, I think there was probably worse going on than this TV series is even going to reveal. You know, I think that's a layer. That's one layer. There's probably a lot more to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the
is someone
TV
who
series is trying to make both sides look, you know, like make people feel sympathy for both sides. That would
right.
be my take on it. And Michael Shannon plays that FBI agent that really sides against what the FBI and the ATF did.
Right.
He's like fighting with them throughout.
There was so much more than I think the ATF knew they were getting into. You know, they went after these converted weapons. So the weapons that made this this whole thing such a disaster, you know, he had some human beings in there that were smart enough and capable enough to gunsmith these firearms from being semi-automatic, which we've discussed this before. That means you get one bullet for every single press, right? Well, they were converting these weapons to fire a rapid amount of ammunition by pressing and holding the trigger. That's fully automatic.
The Davidians, David Koresh's cult.
Correct. So,
I didn't even know that.
Exactly, and they had an arsenal of these weapons that had been modified illegally. On top of that, they were backstocking millions of rounds of ammunition. So he had quite the defense system set up. The ATF, that's one issue, and that's perfect for the ATF. That's their job. However, the activity with children, underage children, and then children of any age, and then also separating these couples, these husbands and wives, there's so many issues with what was going on over there. Not just the ATF should have been involved in this raid. I think later on they involve hostage rescue, HRT, but that probably should have taken place right off the bat because it was known that there was women and children in there, right? You don't go start a gunfight at a building where you know that there's women and children, you know?
Yeah.
So there was just so many things that were rushed. I think it even at one point, someone at the ATF had said, "Hey, our cover's blown. The element of surprise has been lost.
Mhm.
We're compromised. Let's go. Let's back out now." And then someone else said, "You know what? Let's just go forward with it." So you have like this scene right here is intense. I mean, there's rounds coming through that wall, and
Yeah.
this gentleman here in this tactical gear, it looks like a male, is in the fatal funnel. I mean, he's right there in an opening on a rooftop. These tactics are so bad. I was mad. I didn't even want to finish my food. I
So
was
tell us what
walking around.
so what
This
would
just
have been
irritates
like, what should the ATF have done?
Gone at night. Or they should not have done anything yet. They should have involved a much greater force of tactics. Like
Like,
this was over their head. They're clearly that's not how a trained operator would try to breach into it. But look at this guy.
it's
Wow.
horrible. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's like a 4-string player on the varsity field. Like what's going on here?
So
Underpowered. These guys are shooting at an upward angle with pistols, and they're getting shot at by high-powered rifles in a fully automatic select fire,
do
disposition.
you think
It's
that
just,
they didn't realize the extent of what he had in there?
I think they knew that's why they went there. They went there to seize and obtain those weapons. So they went in and they picked a fight knowing they were underpowered. Like I said, I think there was a lot of
Oh,
hero-like a very hero-like approach and mentality toward this. And this is what happens when you think like that. You can't underestimate,
so
4
that's
agents,
why,
right?
yeah.
4 agents lost their lives. And
Yeah.
I don't know, over a dozen injured. I mean,
Oh,
that's
it was
bad.
a horrible mess, and that didn't get resolved in a good way. It just got from bad to worse.
How many days does this standoff go?
50, I think it was 51.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I mean, so like what's going on with the people inside? Like, why not at some point come out?
Well, I remember watching some of the testaments from the people who lived there, and they were saying things like from the beginning, when they first started living on the compound, that David would tell them, "There's gonna be a fight. We're gonna have to defend this and our belief." Like he was prepping them already, that they're in their mind, you are gonna have to defend all that we have here at some point.
It just
So
sounds so ridiculous, and I understand that people are looking for some kind of savior and that kind of thing, looking for a purpose, but it just sounds so like I can't wrap my head around it. I'll tell you, when I was studying school counseling, we had this class on religious beliefs, and we all had to pick a religion. And my group, me and this much younger girl than me, picked Scientology. So we went into a Scientologist place, which I had no idea there's one like right down the road from me. And we went in, and when I was in there, I could definitely see how people can get wrapped in it. I remember when Dianetics, there was a point where I was interested in the Dianetics series and the books and things like that, like self-help books and things like that. And I had no idea who L. Ron Hubbard was at the time. But he was actually, a science fiction writer. And he turned this, this fake thing into a religion because he could make more money that way.
yeah, and he was extremely successful with doing it.
Oh, and his legacy lives on,
It's crazy.
as we know. But when we went in there, they tried to hook me up, of course, the weaker one of the two, the girl I was with, like, let's get the hell out of here. I'm like, no, let's try it up to that E-meter. And an E-meter is like, a metal science school project for a 5-year-old that they put together. I'm sure that they've developed it since then, but the e-meter is like a lie detector test. And once you hook it up, they'll ask you questions. Are you happy in your life? And the e-meter will do something. It just detected that you're not happy in your life. Is it because of it? And I was like, and she's like, they're like, come into the back room and we're going to do an auditing. They call it an audit, where they'll keep you for as many days, hours, whatever it takes to rid you of any outside belief, I guess you have, and suck you in.
Wow.
It was so scary after all these years. I mean, I guess that was about 10 years ago. I mean, I could still remember, like I could still feel the creepiness of that.
Was it free of charge? Or did you have to pay for that little?
Well, that was free, but had we gone into the back room, you know that they're going to start charging you.
Yeah. We got another one.
Your credit cards, empty your pockets, and disown everybody. They're all suppressive people in your lives. Yeah, I don't understand why wealthy people would succumb to something like that, but
They're looking for something, They're looking for that conversation or that void, to be filled.
Yeah, well, if you make it to the top, I guess, like Tom Cruise is known to use the lower levels of Scientologists to work on his properties and to, clean up his boat and to do things for him. So you have all the lower levels that are, like your servants. So, they're very out of touch with reality.
Huh.
But
so he's got like Scientology, like assistants, like labor that
I wouldn't call them assistants. I call them laborers. Yeah. Like that work on his I think it was his boats or whatever it is. I forgot, but I read about that somewhere that he takes full advantage of being the person in power and closest to David Miscavige. I don't know if David Miscavige, because last I read he was on the run from something.
So I'm thinking maybe Tom Cruise has this worked out in like property maintenance and now it's a tax write-off or something. Right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. A very elitist. That was my whole reason why I didn't want to go see Top Gun the Maverick. Sorry to disappoint you, but he was wonderful in that and amazing. And I got past it.
Yeah.
By the way, side note, I need to know what you thought of John Wick 4.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, Will, once you see it, we have to do a movie review.
Okay.
It is 3 full hours of gun fights and sword fights. And
there's swords in there? Okay.
There are tons of swords. Every sword you can think of. Those stars, bow and arrows. It is 3 hours. I was like, is there going to be any story? It's just boom, 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 boom. It's exhausting.
I bet. All right. So
you got to watch it. And then that's going to be, we definitely need you to be healthy, Keoni, because we need you back.
I know. We need you back.
We miss you today. But yeah, I'm sure he has lots of opinions of that because he already saw it. So, and the whole time I'm watching it, I was thinking of the two of you. I'm like, this is your jam.
He watched it, right? He saw it.
Yeah, he saw it. He said he saw it when it first came out.
Okay. I'll get up to speed and
I had no idea at the running time, 2 hours and 49 minutes, and literally, I don't think that they stopped action packed the entire time.
Wow. Okay.
And every kind of weapon, and all I kept thinking of, I wonder what kind of weapon that is, and that weapon's doing that to the person, and like I said, in the swords and everything, you'll have a blast with it. But didn't you say there was some kind of cult by you to just before we wrap up today?
Yeah, when you had kind of first reached out, I immediately thought, oh, this reminds me of the trip that I took to a place called Cleator, Arizona. And once upon a time, a good friend and I were really into photography, and we thought, let's go check out this ghost town, So we look it up, and it's kind of out near Black Canyon City, dirt road. You're driving out into the middle of the desert, and we load up our camera equipment, some snacks, and we're thinking we're going to go find this, kind of like junkyard and take some interesting photos of like turned over cars or whatever. And that there was some turned over school buses and like an old cop car from, it looked like the Dick Tracy era, which was pretty cool. But little did we know, it was definitely like
Mainly his own children from his.
Where is that going?
It was like a mining camp that people have moved into. Like there's trailers down there with DirecTV satellites on them. And they're living down there. And there's a sign.
Oh my goodness.
There's a sign down there, and it tells you right away, no trespassing and no law enforcement. Like you're on your own, in other words, when you go down there. It was pretty wild. And imagine like that Hills Have Eyes kind of vibe.
That's what I'm picturing. That's exactly what I'm picturing.
Oh yeah, it's creepy, very just unsettling, We didn't take any pictures. We drove through and then continued on the road and then worked our way.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, it's funny, Stephanie, they have like a little restaurant down there, like a corner store. Would you eat there?
No, I watch way too much horror and these little towns that you never see these people again, where they take over your body, Children of the Corn and Salem's Lot. And then, just even stories like I just told you about the Scientology experience that I had personally, aside from what I've seen. So no, because I can see when if somebody's going through something and doesn't have the strength and the backbone or the knowledge to say no. I mean, I always think about it too, as like, as a little kid, you're told, like, at least I used to be told, don't go with that guy that's saying, hey, I have a puppy you want to pet in the back of my truck, and that definitely happened to me as a child. And I always wanted to pet the dog, but I always heard, like, being told not to, and have that conflict in your brain. So as a small child, and continue that through adulthood, if you are that person that, doesn't say, I'm going to listen to mommy told me, hey, I'm going to do that. If you never had that, then you would go, so no, I would definitely not.
Did you happen to catch the brief story about the drummer that David and another guy had found at a music store, and then they reeled him into living at the compound?
Thibodeau? Yeah, Thibodeau. He's still David. Was that another David? Thibodeau was his last name.
That story tripped me out. I mean, this guy's at a music store with drumsticks in his hand, just shopping. And then he's approached by David, and David's like, hey, are you a drummer? And they start talking, and David's kind of masterful way of leading people into his his current, that's what he played off of. He got this guy who was in a music store to feel like he was welcome and in the right places. I think he even said something like, all the decisions you've made that got you here are why we're meeting right now, Like that's how this guy was.
It brought me to something that I have so many thoughts when it comes to this. Like, how does one, like, I want to have the power to lead a cult. How does one become that influential?
No, you don't.
About it. No, I mean, I'm kidding, but like, to be so influential, and it's always evil. Not always.
Yeah, I think that's I think some are wired like, that way, and it's an innate quality. I think, you're you're that convincing, or irresistible in a way,
and also willing to say and do anything and play on, like these, some of these are his kids and not really care about, their lives and be really, really, really selfish.
Right. That's very predator-like in
Yeah.
character traits.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So one last thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if you saw this part, but there was a fire started at the very end of the whole siege that led to the deaths. So this fire, it's debatable on who started it. Some were saying inside the compound, and then
Right.
of course some are going to blame FBI. But this guy who survived, let's see if I can share this video. But that guy from Australia survived, and
He hid in a water tank or something, right?
he I think so, but he also said that he heard them saying start the fire inside in two different locations. And so him being a David Koresh supporter, I thought that was real telling that
Right.
you know, he said that.
I got to finish the episodes and see what kind of led up to that.
From the
All right, so here it
inside.
is.
The workout tower is engulfed in flames.
I then hear someone call out from upstairs again. He says, light the fire.
Was that a male or a female voice?
It was a male voice.
David Koresh's voice?
I'm not certain whose voice it was.
Flames, as you can see, just
So he doesn't know whose voice it was, but it definitely, he was saying, and he said it like a couple of different points. I don't want to play too much because I don't want YouTube to shut us down, but
Sure.
yeah, so he says it a couple of times that in different locations, they were saying that they heard, he was saying that he heard people starting fires inside. And since it's coming from him, I thought that was pretty credible, since he is a believer still.
Right.
You know.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, what an intense standoff. Over a month, almost 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months long.
Crazy. Well, it was so great to see you.
Good to see you too.
We have to get back at least once a month and do this. And once you watch John Wick 4,
Okay.
we gotta do a movie review.
I'll make sure I'm good for 3 hours.
Honestly, Will, I feel like that's one that you're gonna watch over and over again.
Think so?
Did you watch any of the other John Wicks?
I did, and here's my thing with firearms in Hollywood. Just a couple months ago, I graduated 1,000 hours of tactical training, and I have a hard time watching movies with guns now.
I see.
Primarily because it's not how it goes down. Like, that's not how they work. No one wears ear protection. So I have to escape my training to enjoy a movie, and it's not easy for me. I've had to kind of like just walk away from some movies because I don't know. I'm punching holes in it. You know, I need a good storyline, and that'll help. But if it's just kind of like, you know what I've gotten back into? I'm watching classic horror movies. I watched Friday the 13th and then Nightmare on Elm Street, and I had a great time. Great time.
Because that's realistic. Him getting those killers.
I wasn't thinking about anything. I'm like, okay, I don't care if this can't happen. It's just crazy that it's happening right now on the TV, you know?
Awesome. I love it. Yeah,
but I will give John Wick a try.
That might disturb you, but there was a lot of, first of all, Keanu Reeves is in super really good shape. And there's so much martial arts and physical movement that no matter how real or unreal it is, there's no way that you can't go like, that didn't just like, no.
Perfect.
You just got thrown again. Like you got to be, you can't keep getting back up, kind of like Friday the 13th, right?
It has been fascinating with how much work Keanu Reeves put into this movie series. Like, he has trained so hard.
I have, him as an actor, I'm not really sure, but as a
performer,
martial artist and being able to handle all the weapons, regardless of whether or not, and you can let us know the realness of that, but changing weapons and loading them and, just as things are happening, like the speed at which all of it's happening is what I was blown away. I mean, it was way too much gunfighting for me. And then there's one scene, I won't blow it for you, but there's one scene at the end that I really want to talk to you about, where it's just like, no, stop.
I'll watch it.
Where he just gets like knocked down, let's just say, and you just like, come on, and then he has to get back up and do this whole thing again, and then he has to get back up, and see, I'm exhausted from it.
Yeah.
Anyway. As soon as you watch it, give me a call and we'll do this again. And,
love it. Sounds great.
All right. Take care, Will.
Perfect. Bye. See you later.